Hey everyone, it is Chrissy at Pinovate. This tutorial is for our affirmation board. It is absolutely adorable, really cute to do, great for all ages, something that you can be proud to display on your wall. So grab all of your supplies, we'll go through them together and let's see what we can create. Okay, so let's go over all of your supplies in your kit. You are going to receive a framed wooden board. It's really heavy duty and looks beautiful as is. We don't have to paint that or touch that, which is really nice. You're also going to get a big set of vinyl words to choose from. So you get to choose what you are on your board. You're also going to have another little vinyl that's a straight line. You're going to have some laser cut words that say you are, and they have 3M sticker on the back. You're going to get your choice of paint as well as some makeup sponges to paint with. The only other things that you're going to need would be scissors and masking tape. These are important. So grab those, get all your supplies, and we're gonna make this together. All right, so what's cool about this project is you actually get to choose what you are. These are 12 different unique words that you can pick and put together to describe yourself or the person that you are giving this to as a gift. They're all wonderful affirmations, and you get to pick your top 4. So we're going to cut out the 4 that you would like. Make sure that you cut along the white line here. Do not cut any of the blue vinyl. We need all of it so everything lines up properly. All right, so I have chosen my 4 words. I've cut them all out, and I also have my single line vinyl as well. So you need to have your 4 words and your line to get started before we're painting. All right, so I am ready to apply my vinyl to my board. These boards are beautifully made, and they're nice and sturdy, heavy duty, and it's so nice because we don't actually have to paint any of this. It's already ready to go. So I want to lay out my design. So I'm going to actually start with my You Are laser cut words. Please be very careful with these. They are thin and they are very fragile. If you are rough with them, they may end up breaking. So please look after these when you're using them. So for our layout, I'm just going to place these off to the side for now. I'm not painting them just yet. I just want to know where I am placing my vinyls. So I know that I have my You Are on the side. My next step is to put my line. I want my line on the left, and I want this larger chunk of vinyl on the right. So I'm going to I know that I'm going to line it up roughly about here, roughly. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So now I have space for my You Are, I have my line, and I have it nice and lined up. So this is where it comes in really handy. Once you have all of your words, you're going to place them along the right-hand side. Everything is going to fit just lovely because that is how we created it. We made this nice and easy for you guys. So come up with what order you want them to be in. Okay, I'm going to show you how to apply these so everything is straight, but come up with your order. So I think I would like to be creative first, brilliant, adored, and special. That is the order that I would like to put mine in. So once you have everything laid out and you know where it's going to go, we're going to take everything off except for our line. So I'm just going to move all of my pieces over, and we're starting with our line first. Okay, so before I take my line off to apply it, I'm actually just going to take a little bit of masking tape and mark where the left-hand side of my edge of my vinyl is going to go, if you guys can see that there. You don't have to do this. This is optional. This is just so I know kind of where I'm going to end up placing this again. So just about there. Perfect. So for the vinyl, this part is really kind of cool. It's like a sandwich sticker. So there is a paper backing, there is a clear plastic front, and there's the blue vinyl on the inside. So to apply this, think of it kind of like an Oreo or a sandwich. I want you to rub it down so it is pressed to your clear transfer tape. So that's the top. So give it a good rub, then you're gonna flip it over and you're peeling off the paper backing first. You want all of that vinyl to stick to the clear plastic transfer tape. All right, so now I have this. This is a great big sticker now, so you have to be very careful that it doesn't touch itself or you won't be able to get it apart. Okay, so I know that I want my line on the left and I wanted most of my vinyl on the right. This allows me to line up my words. So I have my reference tape at the top and the bottom. I know that I'm going to place it roughly about that area so that they are lined up. And I want this line to be nice and straight, straight as possible. I don't want it crooked, I don't want it wiggly. I'm trying to make it as vertical as I can and fit it within my board. So I'm happy with it there. Once that is down, you're going to give it another really good rub. If you have like a library card or a driver's license or a credit card, something like that, a rewards card, you can give this a rub with that. That helps as well. Or you can just use your fingers, whatever you have available. Give this a really good rub. And then what you want to do is just peel off the clear transfer tape now. We are leaving the blue vinyl on our board. A trick to do this is rather than pulling directly up, you want to peel back and pull it along your vinyl rather than pulling it up. This is actually going to pull the vinyl off. So we want to peel it or roll it back on itself. Ta-da! And there is our first vinyl, our line. All right, so now I have my words on the side here. So doing the exact same process that I did with this one, I'm going to rub it, peel the back, and place them. So now, when we are placing them, we want everything to line up exactly along this edge here. That is going to make sure that your words are nice and straight. So again, I'm peeling off the paper backing first. If anything starts to lift up like this, just give it another really good press down so it sticks to your clear transfer tape. This might take a few minutes. Don't get frustrated. Just give it another rub and just take your time with this. This is not a rush. Okay, we want this to turn out really well. All right, so I have my paper backing off. Everything is still on there. All of my vinyl is on there. So this is gonna be my first word. I want to line up the edge of this blue vinyl on the edge of this blue vinyl. So near the top, allowing room for all of my other words here, I'm going to line them up so that they are touching or even slightly overlapping, just very carefully. I'm gonna start on that one side. There is no white showing through either of the vinyls. I want to make sure that they are absolutely touching. And then I'm going to press this down so there's no bubbles. Give it a really good rub. And then peel off that transfer tape. All right, so I have my first word. We're going to do the exact same process with each word, making sure that they are roughly spaced equally in between. All right, so I have all of my words on there as well, and everything is lined up. All of the words are touching the vinyl of the line here, and then I have roughly about the same spacing in between each line. So once this is ready, we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, so when we're painting, we only want our paint to go into the lines here and our letters. That's it. We don't want it to go anywhere else on our board. So to protect our board, we are going to use our masking tape and just tape off anywhere that our paint could accidentally kind of overspill. So take a piece of tape, and just block off any areas that we don't want our paint to go. So I would definitely block off in between all of my words, as well as along this edge here. All right, so I have taped out all of my areas that may possibly end up getting paint on them. So I put some at the top, along the edges, in between my words especially, and even on this edge because that T is pretty far to the right there. If you have any little hands creating this project, I would actually suggest taping off your board as well around the outside, because paint could accidentally touch the edges, and if you just want to protect it, I would mask that out as well. All right, so we are ready to paint. I am going to go with blue for mine, and if you can get out whatever color paint you have, I can't wait to see what colors you guys have chosen. And you're also going to need a makeup sponge as well. So on your makeup sponge, there's kind of a pointy side. I like to hold it like this between my fingers so I have something to grasp onto. And we're going to use this flat edge for painting, okay? So the first thing I want to make sure is that all of my vinyl is very, very flat. There's no bubbles or lumps, especially around the edges of the words. We don't want to have any paint being able to seep underneath or leaking or bleeding underneath there. We want to have nice crisp edges, so please make sure that your vinyl is as flat as can be. All right, so for painting, you're going to take the flat side of your makeup sponge and you're going to dab just a little bit of paint on there. Now you can see that it is quite globby and I have a chunk on there. I don't want that at all. I want very, very little paint. So I'm gonna dab most of it off, and I want it to be very flat, almost like there's nothing there, but because it is a sponge, it holds lots of paint. Now with this, instead of painting like a brush and going back and forth and up and down and all of that, that may actually push the paint underneath your letters and the vinyl. We are going to be painting directly up and down, just like you're daubing like bingo, okay? So to do this, you're taking very, very little paint and you're going straight up and down on your board, and that is going to give you the sharpest line of the vinyl. And we're going to work in layers. So I don't want to have a ton of paint on here, and I'm working with it until there's nothing left on my sponge. Okay, just a tiny little bit of paint at a time, dabbing directly up and down. And I am doing this, I'm doing one coat or one layer of paint over my whole board. Going back into your paint as you need it, but remember you're just needing a very small amount, not a big blob or a whole bunch, and directly up and down while you're painting. All right, so I have one coat of paint on all of my areas. I was very careful to only put my paint where I wanted it. I'm not going over or bumping it onto my board anywhere, so you have to be very precise when you're doing this part. So once I have my first coat on there, we're going to just set it aside and let it dry. However, in the meantime, while that is drying, I'm going to paint my laser cut letters. So in the exact same fashion that I just did my board and the vinyl, I'm going to paint my letters the same way, using a small amount of paint, my makeup sponge, same color, and dabbing directly up and down. Now with this, like I mentioned before, your laser cut letters are very fragile, so please hold them and handle them gently while you're doing this. Also, just a note, if you get too much paint on your sponge and it squeezes into any of the small areas, it might be quite difficult to get it out. You can use a toothpick to poke that paint out, but again, less paint is better at this time. So the exact same manner, I'm taking a small amount of paint and I'm working in layers. I'm gonna do one coat, let it dry, and then do a second coat. All right, so I have one coat on my cut words. Now you can tell that I've only painted the very, very top of it. I'm not squeezing my sponge over that I'm painting the edges. Those are not necessary at all. I just want a very thin, light coat on the top of my wood, not along the edges. So now that this first layer is done, I'm gonna set this aside and I'm gonna go back to my board and do a second coat. All right, so this paint is dry and I'm gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing and do a second coat with my paint. All right, so there's my second coat. I'm gonna set this aside, let this dry, and I'm gonna move back to my laser cut words. All right, time for my second coat on here. So just a little tip, you're gonna have more success if you do multiple coats of very thin paint rather than trying to put a whole bunch of paint and cover it all at once. The thinner the coat and the more layers that you do, the better it will turn out. All right, I am back to my board now. This is going to be my third coat. The paint that I have is quite a light shade. So some of the colors that you have, like maybe light pink or light green, you might have to do 3 coats, maybe even 4. Any other of the darker colors, you may only need to do 2. So because I have a light colored paint, I'm gonna do a third coat, just the same as before. Also, it's very important that your coats dry in between painting. Otherwise, your wet paint can actually pull off the other wet paint that's on your board. So it's very important that it is dry in between. And that way it's gonna give you a more solid coat and a more solid coverage as well. So I have done 3 coats of paint on here. I am ready to peel off all of my masking tape and vinyl. Now this is very important that this is completely dry to the touch. If you start pulling this when it is wet, you're going to get it on your fingers. Your fingers are going to touch the board. The paint is going to spread everywhere and we don't want this. We want this to be nice and crisp and clean. So please make sure that this is dry before we start peeling. If you are in a time crunch or anything, you can use a blow dryer. Just give that a quick little blow dry and that will speed it up. But because we use such thin layers, it dries very quickly. So once this is ready to go, we're gonna start peeling our masking tape off first. Okay, so I have my masking tape off and I'm gonna start peeling the vinyl. Now, it may rip, that's okay. We don't need this anymore. Your masking tape may actually stick to the vinyl and start peeling it off. That is okay too. But we just want to peel this off. This part is the most satisfying. It is so cool to see and reveal underneath. If you're having troubles getting the vinyl off because it is pretty stuck on there, you can use a toothpick to pick up the corner, a bamboo skewer, an X-Acto knife, your nails, whatever works best for you. You just need something small and pointy to grab that corner. Oh my gosh, it's looking amazing. So once I have my board to here, I have one step left. That is my UR words. So again, making sure that these are fully dry before we move on and working with these nice and gently. So on the backs of these, we have 3M adhesive. All we have to do is peel off this first layer here and then stick them down. Again, if this is tricky to grab with your fingers, you can use a bamboo skewer, a toothpick, anything that you have that you can grab that corner. So just peel off the backing. And then once that backing is exposed, we're going to place it directly onto our board where we want it because it is quite sticky. And once it is there, give it a press so it adheres on. I'm going to finish off with my other word. And there we go. You are creative, brilliant, adored, and special.
Thank you so much for following along. I hope you really enjoyed this project. It is so cute and so wonderful, and lots of words of self-affirmation. I'd love to see what words you picked and where you have it hanging in your home. So please tag us on Instagram at Pinovate and DIY Delivery. We're also on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. We're on all the platforms. So give us a follow and we'd love to see your work. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.